We're at the Simpson Center at the University of California with Mike Blasquez, who's been here 10 plus years. But we're going to start out, Mike, because I've known you De La Salle like 15, 20 years ago, and you have a great story. How did you get your start in training?
Oh, wow. Well, let's see. I started De La Salle back in 1992, and prior to that, I was working at another local high school, Acalanes High School, and employed with a physical therapy facility at the time, doing sports medicine. And my first start with high school athletics was with Acalanes High School, and then from there went to De La Salle in 1992, as I said, and was there until the end of the 2002 football season, and then here at Cal at 2003 until now.
But the story here though is I forget his name, but the Lupois. I mean, people know Tosh and Tony Lupois,
right?
But it was this is the exclusive. I think your wife might know this, but this is like the first time this has ever been told. Tell us, I mean, it was Lupois that found you. The dad, go ahead.
It was. So, those of you that are De La Salle fans obviously remember Tosh Lupois, who's gone on to have a wonderful coaching career. His brother, Tony, also played for us back in 1992. His father, John, was my first contact with De La Salle as a professional. John, back at the time, had a physical therapy clinic that he owned and ran called Sport Health Physical Therapy in Walnut Creek. And John was a visionary. He, back in the 80s, actually started employing athletic trainers and strength and conditioning coaches at the high school level and at the junior college level. It was previously only really being done at high level Division I athletics at the time. And while I was at Acalanes High School, John somehow, some way, found me and got a hold of me and showed some interest in having me work for him at Sport Health, but as a primary role, be involved with De La Salle High School as an athletic trainer. And he felt that I'd bring some value there, and with both my athletic training and strength conditioning background.
Right.
So it was John that brought me on campus the first time and generated my interest in being involved with the school as a professional.
Right, and then the Lupois, longtime Walnut Creek people, they ran that Lupois market for years.
Right.
And see, that goes back. See, my family's been around since like '49, so we know all this. But that'll be for another episode. We talk about the history of Contra Costa. But with you, the thing I graduated De La Salle in 1989. 1985, we're playing with like Russell Lawson, Antonio Vernon on Saturdays, no lights. Talk about the facilities when you first got to De La Salle.
Right, so I'll never forget my first day on campus here. John brought me on campus, and they were, as a football program, just beginning their summer training program. And I walked out there, and I remember seeing the dirt track, and there's pretty good potholes in that track at that time, and looked out in the field and saw high grass and huge crown on the field, and thought, wow, this is the legendary spot, right? And I walked out there. I got a chance to meet Bob Laddiser and Terry Edson at the time, and Steve Alexikos, who was the line coach at that time, and was introduced by John, and we talked a little bit, and Terry was really proud of the fact they just got the lights, and that they're now able to play on Fridays, and
Friday night lights.
Friday night lights, right? So that was a big deal at that time, and the weight room was the old wrestling room, and I think half of it at that time was still a wrestling room. And they had mats laid out in there, and the other side of it, they had a small weight room. I remember the plastic weights on the ground. They had mixed dumbbells. They had, a 5 and a 25 and a 55 lying on the ground, and some bent bars. It was interesting walking in and getting a chance to see the.
We'll get to where we are today. I mean, because
tradition.
And now tradition. That's where it started. Now with all this around you today, but I think I do things backwards. I just thought the other connection is Moreau. You played at Moreau,
right?
People don't tell people about Moreau and the CAL. They don't even know what that is.
Oh yeah, so Catholic Athletic League. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
So
Moreau, De La Salle,
right?
O'Dowd. Who else? St. Elizabeth.
St. Liz, Salesian.
Right. And in basketball will be St. Joe on the island.
St. Joe's.
Yeah, okay.
No doubt.
People, if you don't know, Google this. I mean, this was awesome. Mike played. People don't even lost. He was like the first big-time recruit to go to Notre Dame. Braxton Banks.
Right. Braxton was a year older than I, and great player at Moreau back in the Walsh era.
Right.
And I'll tell you, the CAL was funny because everybody said all these Catholic schools are really good, and they're all in the same league together, and that shouldn't be. They should split this thing up. And so they did. They split it up, and then about 2 years after that, they were saying, "What are all these Catholic schools doing in these leagues? It's they should be in their own league." So.
Right. Yeah, that's what I talked to Terry Edson about. Yeah, they were upset when we had our own league, so they put us with the public schools, and the public schools complained.
Yeah.
But no, I don't want to bring up bad memories. I think you would have played either it was at De La Salle or at Moreau. De La Salle. Do you remember that game? Terry Edson talks about this game. Like we were on about 1985. Were you playing in 1985?
Yeah, I was. I think a junior varsity player at that time.
Okay, but you would have seen. Tell them what we're talking about. That game where, I mean, you're Moreau, but De La Salle crushed you.
Oh yeah, that was a big time game, and Moreau had a pretty good football team that year. So
Braxton Banks.
Braxton was playing, and that was a tough deal.
Right, and so do you remember? So you played on Saturdays at De La Salle when you were with Moreau.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
So those were good days and great times. But Terry will tell you about his time playing with Vermeil.
Okay.
There, Al is Al is I consider him to be one of my mentors.
Wow.
Al's unbelievable.
Is that
strength and conditioning coach?
Okay, that's Dick's brother or
Dick's brother.
Okay.
And Al was Terry's coach.
Okay.
Back at Moreau.
Right.
And Pat Hayes.
Well, that's right. See, we great minds think. You have to tell people who Pat Purple Hayes is.
Oh yeah. So Pat coached at De La Salle in my early years. You think about De La Salle and being around at a De La Salle football game, or being around anything regarding the coaches. Pat was always there.
Yeah.
First of all, Pat's one of the most intelligent guys I know. He's got a near photographic memory, remembers everything.
Right.
And man, he could tell you anything about De La Salle history. And just I know he's been a great friend to the program, and he's a close friend with Terry and Bob and the staff, and I consider him a great friend also. He's a great guy and always there.
Yeah, I know exactly. I knew my buddy Neil Hayes when this book nailed it. I knew it was going to be a good book. In the first page, he's talking about Pat Purple Hayes, and he says Pat Purple Hayes' role at De La Salle is undefined, and that's it. I mean, he's just like a guru, like a sage.
Yeah.
And I just saw something else funny. Like I talked to Terry Edson. I said, because I knew him a long time. I said, Terry, did you go to high school with Pat Hayes? He says, Brian, I went to grade school with Pat Hayes. I mean, they grew up, and that's the Moreau connection. You can watch that. There's a 5-part interview I have with if you like Blasquez, watch the interview with Terry Edson.
Right.
I'm trying to think. And also, guys, this is how time goes by. I do this with my buddies. They played for you. So, I mean, you're on the spot here. I mean, it's not quite like Black Ops or down at Gitmo, but I have questions here from both Justin Allenbaugh and Shea Hansen. And,
okay. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So let me start out here. Let's see here. What did Shea write? We kind of started this. He says, what was the weight training program place when you got there, and how did you change it? I mean, it basically didn't exist, I think.
Right. No, it did.
Okay, it did exist.
It certainly did. And in fact, when I first came in and was exposed to the staff and to what they were doing there, I was amazed. I was amazed at the intent and effort of what they were doing. Their running and conditioning program was over the top.
Okay.
And Bob and Steve and Terry, they ran that weight training program.
Okay.
They did it themselves.
Right.
Steve had the linemen, the offensive, defensive linemen, the big guys, and he had them doing some primary movements, but they were lifting hard and they were lifting heavy. And Bob had most of the skill players and was running circuits with them in the weight room. They had an old universal machine. I don't know if you remember the old universals.
Yeah.
They had 4 corners. They had a leg press on one side and a shoulder press, and then a bench press, and then I think a leg extension machine on the other. And they used to run circuits, with dumbbells and the universal machine. Anyways, but I came into that, and my first year there in 1992, early on, operated primarily as an athletic trainer.
Right.
And I as we got going, I told Bob and Terry and the staff, I think I could really help them. you know, with the design and organization and implementation of a weight program.
Okay.
To help them to move forward.
Right.
And I think it was the 93 team
Okay.
that where I really started to get more involved, and maybe even the late 92 team.
Yeah.
I remember Walsh and Freeman and all those guys
Yeah.
lifting too, but really more from the structural implementation piece.
Right.
93 was really the first year I really started doing a lot more with them.
Right.
And just kind of built the program out. Felt like I brought just an organized plan for them, and we started looking at the weight room and how to upgrade the weight room a little bit, get some better equipment in there, and worked on the flow of the training and the conditioning and the coordination of the running and the lifting, and just some basic, we call it sports science or periodization, that goes into putting a program together at that time.
The tires that they pulled, is that before or did you bring that in?
No, those were there.
Okay, those were there.
They were
tell people about this. This is legendary.
They were pulling tires.
They're still pulling tires.
Still pulling tires to this day.
Yeah,
and, pulling tires is a form of resisted running.
Okay.
And so whether you're pulling a sled, you're pushing a sled, running up a hill, it's resisted running. And resisted running is great in developing the strength and acceleration, position and mechanics for running. So now the way they were pulling them changed a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have them. Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah. So it was a grind. I mean, if you went out there and watched a workout back at that time, and the guys will tell you, you talk to those guys. I mean, they ran and ran and ran and ran and ran, and so I think we modified that a little bit as we went.
Right.
And built in progressions and built in specific periods of training and made sure that whatever we were doing with weights or whatever we were doing prior to or after that work, it kind of complemented itself and just kind of built in a little more basis for specifics of training.
Okay, and here's one, and this is not for me, it's in bold. I have to ask you this.
Okay.
It says, ask Mike about the ponytail he had when he was.
Oh boy.
Is this a true story?
It's true. It's true.
Do photos exist of this?
Hey, now, boy, that's trouble.
Okay.
I hope not.
Okay.
Actually, it is what it is, right?
Right. No, it is. That's fun.
So yeah, my first year there in 1992, my hair was long.
Right.
And so I used to take it and just strap it back and get it out of my way, and so I took my share of heat about my ponytail.
Right. Okay. From the players or from Ladd and Terry?
I think I took it from everybody
back
at that time. I was a little bit outside the box on that one.
Maybe afterwards you show me that photo. But a photo that we might include later, you showed it me on your phone. It was like a photo maybe in 1999. Tosh Lupoy, who's now an ace recruiter for Alabama, the lifting, and it was DJ Williams spotting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's probably never been seen by anybody.
Actually, that's a Larson picture.
Okay.
Bob,
then it has been.
Yeah,
Bob,
I think that one's actually being seen by a lot of people. But yeah, those are good times. I was actually looking through some stuff. I texted that over to Tosh last night.
Right.
And yeah, those are great times. Tosh and Dee and those guys were joined at the hip back at that time.
Right.
So.
And you mentioned, tell people who Bob Larson is. They don't know who that is.
Oh, Bob's just a wonderful photographer, and spent a lot of time with us. He took some unbelievable photos back when we played St. Louis and Hawaii, and back when we played Long Beach Poly in the first years, and I know on beyond that.
Yeah.
And just, I was always amazed at his work.
And
he was always able to capture something that everybody else missed.
Well, I think Bob and Terry trusted him. They gave him access to the locker room.
Right.
And then also, a lot of those photos ended up in Neil Hayes' book.
Right.
Okay.
Those are a lot of the photos
that's
you
what I'm
see
saying.
there.
So I got to see these. I've just seen the photos in the book. See,
Okay.
I got to get to talk. I got to interview Bob Larson. I mean,
you got to talk to him.
Okay.
He's got some great stuff.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
And then here's one. Who were some of the strongest and hardest workers at De La Salle?
Oh man,
there's a big list.
That's a long list. I mean,
how about this, guys?
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you that the program was built around those guys.
Okay.
Consistent groups of guys that believed in that work, and it was you were outside of the norm if you weren't doing that.
Right, right.
Okay. I mean, the one thing we did well was work hard all the
Sure.
time. And it was just part of who we felt that we were as part of the program,
Right.
As coaches, as players. And so that was tough. I mean, we've had some great lifters.
You know what you do?
You
How
know,
about-
Derek Landry was a great lifter.
Right, okay, yeah.
And you know, he was gifted. I
Yeah.
mean, he went on. He played. Played in the NFL.
Yeah.
He played at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame,
and, you know, but he had great hip mobility and the tools that allowed him to be a big, strong, great lifter. And there was a lot of guys like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of effort and consistent effort and hard work, I mean, that was just part of the program.
Well, the people know Derek Landry. He played in the NFL. How about a guy like Andy Briner?
Oh, Andy was an unbelievable lifter. He went on and played here at Cal, actually.
He did, yeah.
And,
no, I know that. He blocked, it was either a punt or a field goal. He blocked against Southern Miss.
Yeah, I think, remember back to Andy, he loved his upper body work.
Okay.
So I had to chase him around a little bit, you know. And now we're talking about a guy now that was probably one of the strongest guys, regardless of what we're talking about lifting-wise, whether you're talking about upper, lower, full body exercises or not. However, he loved the bench.
Okay.
And so that was his deal. He wanted to break every bench press record we had, and of course, and so just you know, in the strength world, that lift has the least application to football.
Right.
So
No, but it's the one everyone wants, though, right?
it's the one everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
How much do you bench? Well, does it really matter? Right?
Well, it does. I mean, it doesn't in football, but it matters in the mental, right?
That's right.
And
That's
so, who has the record for benching there at Dulles?
Well, I couldn't tell you who has it now.
No, but who had it when you were there?
Back at that time, it was Briner.
Who was it?
It was Andy.
Okay, Andy. Okay, yeah. And
Yeah.
whose record did he break? Or
Oh boy, now you're testing me a little
okay,
bit here.
okay,
Yeah.
it's okay. We'll go back there. We'll look it up. See, I didn't know
I'd
that.
have to go back and look at some of the old
Right. See, so
records we had around. You
okay,
know.
fair enough. No,
Yeah.
and then I'm looking here. We kind of covered it. It says, did the players buy into the off-season program immediately, or when did you start to see the players really buy into the off-season weight training program?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I'd say everything's a process, and I think early on, because things were different, particularly coming into a program where success was just part of their existence, it took time. I mean, I think it was probably my third year there where I felt like things were really starting to click, and then probably I'd say starting in the mid 90s, probably right around 96, 95, 96 is where I felt like things were just, I mean, we had a system. And what we were doing with our training had become consistent in terms of our infrastructure. You make changes along the way all the time, but our structure was set in stone. And so as athletes were coming into the program, they were coming in and they were hearing and doing similar things that the guys did the year before, and we were successful. And I'll tell you, when you've had some success, you know, boy, then that's where you really start to see buy-in. So, you know, I think it took a few years, you know, with me being the new guy, doing it a little bit different, where, you know, there was a, you know, little push and pull. And then once we got going, I think things started really rolling. You know, the whole nature of the program there is about, you know, creating a challenging environment, and with challenge comes adversity. And that was all built into what we were doing. So there was always highs and lows and challenges along the way. But I'll tell you, I felt like we really were rolling by the time we started getting to about the turn of the century. It was, I mean, we were doing some great
And also
things.
that coincided with De Salle taking the games on the road. And we have some props there. Find the Day of Reckoning that never happened. That's the modern day one. So hold it up here in front of you. It's even a little higher like that. Okay. See, I taped this game. I'm down on the field with you guys. I don't see this for 16 years. This is part of the Shea Hansen collection. And this was the modern day. It literally says, this is when the streak ends. And it didn't talk about that game. And that was a big deal.
Oh, that was down there, Edison Field.
Where the Angels play.
Yeah, where the Angels play. And it was a good game. That was a tough game. But, you know, it was you know, they were really the first. I mean, we had played. Who did we play down there? Buena Vista. Maybe prior to that.
And also like Nevada Union up in Sacramento.
Nevada Union.
Everyone was saying De La Salle's good, but they haven't beaten Southern California.
It was the big Northern Southern California challenge, and remember looking back and seeing some game film and watching these guys, and I remember at that time, I think we held like 45 or 47 guys on the team, okay? And guys went both ways, and that was just part of the deal at that time. Yeah. And I remember, I forget, it was Terry, I think, threw on some video.
Yeah.
We were at a Christmas party or something,
Sure.
and he said, hey, check these guys out. And I remember that one of my first things that I saw was 100 guys lining up and doing this organized stretch.
Yeah.
And then, this cheer and the hype that they had around this thing, and I think they had fireworks. I mean, it was. I'm going, this is high school.
Yeah.
Wow,
Mike, it's Orange County.
And then we started looking through the program, and you start seeing the size and the weights on some of the guys.
Yeah.
And, oh man, this is a different animal. now,
Exactly. Yeah.
But the game was really worked up.
Yeah, it was.
And it was an exciting game for us. It was kind of a breakthrough game, I think.
Well, it's huge.
For the
I mean,
program.
in all seriousness, I mean, if De La Salle loses that game, it changes history. I mean, there probably would be no Long Beach games. But I remember De La Salle was up. They came back.
Right.
And then it was a guy that Shay and I still know was Chris Hesse.
Right.
To tell about this play.
Oh, man. Well, you talking about the interception?
No, the sack. When
the big sack.
Yeah, exactly. At the end there when they're about the 50-yard line, they're driving for the tying touchdown, and Hesse just blindsides the guy,
right.
and it's a Forrester who recovers it.
Okay, right.
It's not lost to history because Shay and I are still talking about it. But I meant
Hesse, what a great guy. I mean, and what a hard worker. And
talk about Hesse.
Well, I'll talk about all those guys.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Because I think it was what the program needed at that time was to branch out. There was a little bit of a sense of, okay, there's been consistent accomplishment within the NCS and within the local area. Yeah. And so I think when we found out that some of these games were going to be on the table, it really changed the focus. It gave us something different to focus on. And so guys like Hesse and Ray Forrester and Pegnam and all those guys, I mean, man, there was a sense of urgency. Yeah. And in this world, in my world in training, that sense of urgency is a difference between really optimizing performance or just being mediocre.
Right.
And so I really felt like it was that push that helped us to actually bring the whole program up from a physical standpoint.
Actually, we mentioned a bunch of guys. We forgot one guy from that line. Dave Biller.
Dave Biller.
I mean,
man.
Tell people who Dave Biller is.
Yeah. Oh, Dave and his brother Chris.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just great, hard-nosed, hard-working guys.
Okay.
I mean, and Dave was just an unbelievable guy.
Okay. Because actually, now the interview's out of order here. This was supposed to be Shay's last question, and this is a tough question. He says, it's an impossible question. If you only can have one biller, who do you choose?
Oh man, that is an impossible question. That really is.
How do you answer that? I mean,
I couldn't. I'd want them both.
Yeah, but no.
I'd want them both because
you only can have one, though. You only can have one.
Those guys were the epitome of the De La Salle player.
Right.
They were. I mean, they were guys that were undersized, good, solid athletes.
Yep.
But not elite athletes.
No, because
they were just guys that had a commitment level and a toughness level.
Right.
And a will that was able to put them in a position to play against guys that were far bigger, far more athletic, much faster than they were, and succeed.
Exactly. With all
and they're just, they were just that. The program was really, at that time, was built around guys like the Biller brothers.
Exactly, because in fairness, Biller did play like at St. Mary's, but in that modern day game, he's going against guys who are playing Division I. And then Chris Biller
went on to play rugby here but at a very high level and play professional rugby.
Yeah, exactly. But grab the next prop we have, the Long Beach one.
The Long Beach Poly?
Yeah, because that's Chris Biller, Andy Briner, those guys, Derek Landry, went up against guys like Manuel. Yeah, hold that up. Perfect. So I remember this game, 2001, like 4 weeks after 9/11. I remember we had to drive down to that game, and that was big. The modern day thing was big.
That was a big time game.
And also it was Terry Edson who set this up. You know the story?
Oh yeah.
A bridge too far, almost people thought.
Well, no doubt about it. And hey, I definitely remember the Long Beach Poly VHS getting plugged in, and Bob and everybody turn around, looking at me, and looking at me like, well, what do you think? And I'm going, oh man, these guys are massive, and wow, what an unbelievable game. Probably for me, the most unbelievable athletic experience I've had.
Right.
Really proud of our guys. At that time, I mean, it was just a neat game, and the hype around the game was unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
It was, I think we were 1 and 2 in a couple different pools.
Exactly.
Us 2 and 1 and 1 and 2.
Exactly.
And so the game had gotten so much, it was built up so much, and then we got down there, and and there's been a lot in the game, so a lot of people know about it, but we got down there, and it was just a circus, and there Snoop Dogg was out there.
Right.
I mean, it was NFL Films was filming.
Exactly. Snoop Dogg's a graduate. I was a little bummed that Cameron Diaz wasn't there. She's a Poly graduate. That's who I wanted to be.
I know, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
No, but also, let's get back, Long Beach history, like Gene Washington played for the 49ers, all these guys. Tyus Edney, who went to UCLA and won that national championship when that game early on. There's a tremendous athletic history there, but just the guys they had like 5 guys that were like in the top 100. And granted, we had like Derek Landry, Gutierrez, but the secret weapon that night, you're still training him.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming out, because that was the thing, that the first Terry and Bob knew what they had with Maurice, and they used him very sparingly in those first 2 games.
Yeah, right.
And tell people what happened here.
Oh yeah, so that was just Maurice Jones-Drew's coming out party.
Right.
Back then, Maurice Drew.
Maurice Drew, exactly.
Maurice Drew, right? And so he, I think he shocked everybody watching that game.
Right.
With his abilities as a running back and as a receiver.
Right.
I mean, he caught the ball in the flat, and he was gone.
Right. I have those. I was on the sidelines. I have those, and I interrupt. But no, you're still you still train him.
So Maurice and I have had a long, wonderful relationship, and obviously worked together at De La Salle, and there's probably a little lapse where when he was at UCLA where we didn't see each other as much in the off seasons, although we saw each other a little bit. And then from the time he finished up his collegiate career,
Jacksonville.
He's trained with me in the off seasons, and we spent a lot of time together.
Right.
And worked really hard, and we're still doing it today. I mean, he's getting ready to start up again here pretty quick for his next year's season. So
we can sort of tease to this. We'll find the right time when he has time. He would enjoy doing something like this, I think.
He'd love to. His favorite topic of conversation is De La Salle.
Okay, all right.
And so, talk about bleeding green.
Okay.
I mean, he bleeds green. And, we have other guys that come out, and some Cal guys train here that are still playing.
Well, you mentioned the guy from the Baltimore, the running backs, having a great season.
Justin Forsett and Jeremy Ross, and some good Cal guys, but Maurice makes sure that they know what it means to be a Spartan.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Because they don't know.
Every day.
Right, okay.
Every day.
You're right, okay.
He lets them know. So he'd love to reminisce. And it would be my guess.
Okay, we'll figure that out, because he likes to talk about De La Salle. The only people that like to talk about De La Salle more than him are Shea and myself. So, I'm trying to think. I got just another question from Shea, very specific. He says, let's see, not sure how to incorporate this, but Mike had a dog named Casey. It was a very cool dog that he trained, and it was running cones, among other things. Okay, tell us about Casey.
Okay, so Casey was a black lab, female black lab, and so I brought Casey with me to work every day, and I really at that time got into dog training. I'm a hunter, so labs are hunting dogs, and so Casey, I took a lot of pride in her training, and I'd put her somewhere and I'd sit her down and lay her down. She had to stay there, and she might stay there for 45 minutes without moving, and people running around. And I think all the athletes got to know Casey a little bit, and everybody was pretty impressed with her ability to follow directions.
Right.
And I'd take her out, and when I had time, and would work with her out there. And she took hand signals, and she was whistle trained, and And so everybody was one. She was kind of like a cornerstone in my office.
Right.
She was always there, and and the other thing was everybody was really impressed with her ability to take direction and follow direction.
Right.
And
So,
she's supposed to. So
this might be an exclusive. I don't think any of the movies, any of the books, no one's ever talked about Casey.
no one's talked about you the first.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, that's
She's
sweet.
looking down on us right now.
Yeah, that's
with a
awesome.
smile, so,
When did Casey pass on?
Oh, she's boy. It's been about 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to. I probably might have some more De La Salle, but tell us about where we are today. I mean, this is impressive.
All right. Well, you are in the Simpson Center High Performance Center at University of California, and so we've been in here now for 3 years as part of the stadium and facility renovations that we did several years ago, and we are currently in 18,500 square feet of state-of-the-art weight room, and it's kind of the centerpiece of what we call the High Performance Center at Cal.
Right.
And the key here was that we wanted to put a performance center in and around all the resources that the student athletes need.
Right,
so we have above us our training table and our kitchen facility. On this side we have our academic support.
Right.
We have all our Olympic sport locker rooms and coaches' offices on this side. Over on this side we have all our football coaches' offices and locker room and team rooms and meeting rooms.
The theater.
Sports theater and sports medicine on both sides. Our physician offices right here in the middle of the room.
Right.
And so everything is centered here for the athletes to be able to come to one place and have the resources they need to be successful as a student and an athlete at Cal.
Right.
And so I
was going to say, you're going to say if I got to ask the question.
Okay.
But who helped design the Simpson Center?
Okay. Well, the room we're in right now was kind of my project and my staff's.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
And so basically the space was kind of laid out. You know that we had this large space. It's about 100 yards across and so forth. We got pillars and here's the space. What do you want to do with it? And so it was kind of my role and responsibility to design the layout and find the correct equipment and equip it and get it to the place that it's in now. So it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun, and just been blessed to have an opportunity to work with a university that allowed me to put it all into play.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think. Let me look through here. I jump all around. I talked to you before. I said I got to go back and talk to Alma. You know what I'm going to ask here. He says, this is what Justin says. He says, tell us about the jammer photos if he remembers.
Okay.
Okay. So, but you tell us. Shay, help me. What is a jammer?
So the jammer is a piece of strength training equipment.
Right.
And it was designed by a guy named Boyd Epley, who was a director of sports performance out of Nebraska, and it was a cool piece that we used a lot at De La Salle.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a triple extension, so it's like a full body exercise. It allows you to dip and drive, and so the guys used to love it. And I'm not sure what they're talking about. The photos. I got to get back. There was a song about the jammer.
Okay.
And there was some stuff about the jammer now.
See, that's it. It's coming back to you. So
it's coming back, but the photo, I think we're going to have to get back to those guys. They're going to have to enlighten me on that.
Yeah, that's what. I'll go back to Justin, and I'll come back to you.
Okay.
And there's the newspaper. Hold that up there. I use this in every interview.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe open it up and hold. Yeah. So this. And hold it so that other people can see. You remember,
okay.
So maybe hold it up a little. Yeah. So the story here, that's the guy who's asking about the jammer photos.
Okay.
That's the current head. We tell people who that is.
That's Justin Albaugh.
Right.
Current
exactly.
head coach at De La Salle.
You trained him.
Absolutely. So I was fortunate enough to coach Justin and coach with Justin.
Right.
And so as a player, he was unbelievable. One of the most intelligent guys. I mean, as a coach and a player, just one of the most intelligent people I've ever known.
Yeah.
And he was just so smart on the football field. He just, whatever, he was a guy like Biller. I mean, he was a guy that was just a solid athlete.
Right.
And however, he made up for any lack of athleticism he had between his ears.
Right.
And he knew teams, he knew scouting reports, he knew our scheme.
Yeah.
He was amazing. He was a great leader of people.
Right.
And I'm talking about as a player.
I mean, yeah,
you
there's
know,
a 17-year-old.
and let alone as a coach.
Exactly.
And so,
so for
yeah,
you,
this is good times. This was
that's 1997.
You know,
the College Park game.
breaking the first streak. What was it, 72, right?
Yep.
And College Park, DVC.
Exactly, yeah.
Hudson.
Yeah.
I remember some of those guys came out for the game.
Right, exactly. The Hudson guys.
Yeah, that was a neat time. I remember it was a cold night at Dival Valley College on the old turf.
Yeah, exactly. The real AstroTurf. The real AstroTurf.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. But maybe go back to Allenbaugh, taking over from Ladouceur and continuing. Like Vince Lombardi retires, the Packers tank. You know, Bob Ladouceur. Seriously, that happened in the late '60s. Well, granted, some of those Packers got old, but the Packers were bad until Brett Favre, and that was like 20 or 30 years later. I mean, it's a tremendous. I just like Justin, but I meant, I mean, the pressure, and he handled it. Talk about that. I mean, and what they just did that game down there in Carson, where what's the Centennial scores 42, but it doesn't matter. De La Salle scores 63, including the last 21 points.
They're amazing. I mean, he's amazing, and I'll tell you, when he was a player, everybody was just so impressed with his abilities. You know, his intelligence and. You know, at that time they were talking about him being a great coach. Right. You know, and he went on and played baseball down at UCLA.
Sure.
And then when he wanted to come back and coach, everybody was like, no, are you kidding me? This guy's going to be an incredible coach. He's just a great leader and unbelievably bright. And then obviously getting a chance to work with him, I mean, it was unbelievable.
Right.
So he just brought something to the table that, you know, that I don't think anybody had.
No.
So I think, you know, and then of course, you know, being brought up through the program, he lived it, experienced it, coached in it as an assistant coach for all those years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the same.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the strength of the De La Salle program is one heartbeat, you know. Everybody there, all the coaches, man, they're all on the same page.
Right.
In any relationship or working environment, I mean, how important is that?
Absolutely.
And I think Justin, 10, 20, 15 years ago, you know, got that piece, and then it's taken it to a whole new level that I'm not even aware of. So
no, I'm thinking.
you know, he's just an incredible man, and it's well deserved.
Right. I'm thinking. Here's what's going on behind the scenes. We're going to wrap up. But we have to take a break right now. We've talked so long, we've filled up this memory card.
Okay.